Welcome to this week's new book releases. Fantasy is our big genre this week, but there will be timestamps between each one as normal. Mispronunciations probably will be happening. I'm Morgan. If this is your first time here, I hope you find a good book to pick up. First up this week will be our big genre of fantasy, and this one has a lot of sequels coming out this week. Some conclusions. The first one up is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. This one is the sequel to The House on the Cerulean Sea. I think I said that one right. A magical house, a secret past, a summons that could change everything. This time we are following author's story as author Parnassus. He's built his life on the ashes of a bad one as he's the headmaster of a strange orphanage on a distant and peculiar island, and he hopes to soon be the adoptive father of 6 magical, so-called dangerous children who live there. I didn't want to give too much away for those who haven't read the first book, where we are following a different main character who is a social worker who has to go to the house and see if the children are being treated properly. And it's just supposed to be heartwarming and cozy and sweet and touching. Have not read it, so these are all the descriptions that I've heard other people talk about. Next one up is Vilest Things. This is the sequel to Immortal Longings that came out about a year ago by Chloe Gong. We are following Kala Tulimi. Oh my gosh, I forgot her name there for a second. As she is joining these games that they're held every year in the capital of San-Ir. And in this, contestants can jump between bodies to be the last one standing in the arena after, I don't think there's a set timeline, but you win riches. That is why the king holds it, so that the people won't notice they're in squalor quite as much, and they have this hope to be able to get a better life. Kala is in it though for the hope of being able to get to the king and kill him, as she killed her own parents 5 years ago. Our other character is Anton Moshinka, who is an exiled noble who has been caring for the medical care of his first love, who has been in a coma since they were exiled. It is so interesting. I love the world building of this, even though it is a little bit slower, but that's on purpose. We'll move on though to Warlords of the Weirdwood by R.J. Barker. This is book 2 in the Forsaken trilogy. The main book, though, is following Khan. He's known as a forester, a man capable of navigating the dangerous forests of Krua like no one else. But once he was a warrior. Odini serves the goddess of the lost, a keeper of the small and helpless. When Odini needs to venture into the Weirdwood to find a missing child, she asks Khan to be her guide. But in a land where land is won and lost for uncaring gods, where the forest is full of monsters, Khan will need to choose between his past life and the one he leads now. And his choice will have consequences for his entire world. I really feel like I said her name wrong. I'm sorry I laughed in the middle because I feel like I said her name wrong. Moving on to the conclusion, though, of the Ending Fire trilogy by Sarah El Arifi. Red is the blood of the elite, of magic, of control. Blue is the blood of the poor, of the workers, of the resistance. Clear is the blood of slaves, of the crushed, of the invisible. This whole series will follow 3 girls, one I do believe from each of the different casts, as they're trying to stir up the resistance again as they are fighting against the tyranny of their world. Even one of them that should be one of the elite, she is constantly put down by her mother and told useless. One that is not a sequel or conclusion would be The Scarlet Throne by Amy Liao. Benza is a living goddess, chosen by the gods to dispense both mercy and punishment from her place on the Scarlet Throne. But her reign hides a deadly secret. Rather than channeling the wisdom of an immortal deity, she harbors a demon. Though one cannot remain a living goddess forever, when her temple's priests decide that Benza's time and power has come to an end, a new girl, Medtha, is selected to take over in her position as goddess, but Benza refuses to be discarded into a life of uncertainty as a young woman, and she strikes a deal with her demon. She will sacrifice her people's lives in order to magnify his power, and in return, he will help her seize control from the priests once and for all. We move into romantasy now with A Fire in the Sky by Sophie Jordan. Dragonfire no longer blisters the skies over Penthera, but inside the lavish palace, life is still perilous, especially for Tamsin. Raised on the glittering court alongside the princesses, it's her duty to be punished for their misdeeds. Treated as part of the royal family, but also as the lowest servant, Tamsin fits in nowhere. When Feld, the beast of the borderlands, descends on her home, Tamsin's world becomes even more dangerous. To save the pampered princess from a fate worse than death, she is condemned to don a veil and marry the brutal warrior. She agrees to the deception even though it means leaving the only life she's ever known. Then we have another conclusion, just a different genre. That's going to be the conclusion to the Glaceon trilogy, Valley by Stacey McEwen. In the first book, Ledge, it's a civilization trapped on a vast chasm by a sheer mountain face. There's no way for anyone to escape the frozen wasteland without befalling a deathly drop. They know nothing of the outside world except it's where the Glaceons reside, mythical and vicious winged creatures who bring meager rations in exchange for a periodic human sacrifice. And this is where our main character, Dawson, comes in, as she was chosen to be the human sacrifice. No one knows what will happen to her on the other side, least of all Dawson, murdered, enslaved, worse. We move into our sci-fi this week with William by Mason Cole. Henry is a brilliant engineer who, after untold hours spent in his home lab, has achieved the breakthrough of his career. He's created an artificially intelligent consciousness. He calls the half-formed robot William. No one knows about William. Henry's agoraphobia keeps him inside the house, and his fixation on his project keeps him up in the attic, away from everyone, including his pregnant wife Lily. When Lily's co-workers show up wanting to finally meet Henry and see the new house, the smartest of smart homes, Henry decides to introduce them to William, and things go from strange to much worse. Soon Henry and Lily discover the security upgrades intended to keep danger out of the house are even better at locking it in. I guess maybe more horror, maybe more thriller, horror fiction. Horror fiction. First one up is Lucy Undying by Kirsten White. Her name was written in the pages of someone else's story. Lucy Restiner was one of Dracula's first victims, but her death was only the beginning. Lucy rose from the grave a vampire and has spent her immortal life trying to escape from Dracula's clutches and trying to discover who she really is and what she truly wants. Then we have So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I'm excited for this one, even if Black Sheep didn't go well. I have hopes the vampire one will. Sloane Parker is dreading her birthday. She doesn't need a reminder she's getting older or that she's feeling indifferent about her own life. Her husband surprises her with a birthday weekend getaway. Not with him, but with Sloane's longtime best friend, troublemaker extraordinaire, Naomi. She wants Sloane to stop letting things happen to her, for Sloane to really live. So Naomi orchestrates a wild night out with a group of mysterious strangers, only for it to take a horrifying turn that changes Sloane and Naomi's lives literally forever. We move into mystery thrillers. The first one up is Guillotine by Delilah Dawson. Thrift fashionista Des Lane doesn't want to date Patrick Ruskin. She wants to meet his mother, the editor-in-chief of Nuavo magazine. When he invites her to his family's big Easter reunion at their ancestral home, she's certain she can put up with his arrogance and fend off his advances long enough to ask Marie Caulfield Ruskin for an internship someone with her pedigree could never nab through the regular submission route. When they arrive at the enormous island mansion, Des is floored. She's never witnessed the 1% lives before and all the ridiculous, unnecessary luxury. But once all the family members are on the island and the ferry has departed, things take a dark turn. This is more probably mystery than thriller. The Examiner by Janice Hollett. University professor Gila Nathaniel must make her new master's program in multimedia art succeed. If it doesn't, then Royal Hastings University will cut her funding and she'll be out of the job she loves. The 6 students in this inaugural course will be the key to that success, but how well has she selected the team? At the end of the academic year, when the examiner arrives to grade the student's final project, he finds himself asking what happened, because if someone in that course isn't in mortal danger, then they are already dead. But who and why? This is supposed to be told through mixed format, like of text messages, emails, message boards, of that nature, so it sounds intriguing. Ending with fictions this week, The Women Behind the Door by Rhodey Doyle. This one, I think, can be read as a standalone, but it is containing a character from 2 of the previous books by this author. At 66, Paula Spencer, mother, grandmother, widow, addict, survivor, has finally started to live her life. She has a job at the dry cleaner she enjoys. Her boyfriend Joe is a text away when she needs him, and her 4 children now have the healthy families and petty dramas that Paula could have only hoped for. Despite his ghosts, Paula has started to push her past aside. That is until her eldest, Nicola, turns up on her doorstep one day. Nicola is everything Paula wasn't. Independent, affluent, a loving wife and mother, a success. But now she is suddenly determined to leave it all behind. She has left her family and come to stay. And so it's a mother-daughter relationship bond working through past traumas and things. Finally, we have Here One Moment by Leanne Moretti. If you knew your future, would you try to fight fate? Aside from a delay, there will be no problems. The flight will be smooth. It will land safely. Everyone who gets on the plane will get off, but almost all of them will be forever changed. Because on this ordinary, short, domestic flight, something extraordinary happens. People learn how they are going to die. For some, their death is far in the future, age 103, and they laugh. But for 6 passengers, their predicted deaths are not far away at all. How do they know this? There were ostensibly more interesting people on the flight. The bride and groom, the jittery, possibly famous woman, the giant Hemsworth-esque guy who looks like an off-duty superhero, the frazzled, gorgeous flight attendant. But none of them would be as famous as the Death Lady. That's all for this week's list. If you do know of any other books coming out this week that I didn't mention, as yes, there probably are several, feel free to drop them in the comments down below so that we can all find out about them. Maybe, though, you were able to find something off this list that you want to pick up, or one of the series to check out. If you enjoyed this video, you can go check out some of my others and subscribe if you like my content. I just hope you are finding something awesome to read today, and I'll see you in the next one.